What's up, guys? It's Evan with Free for All. Let's talk about Better Call Saul Season 3. So, before we get into it, I'm just going to preface this. I'm one of those rare people that have actually seen more of Better Call Saul than I did of Breaking Bad. And I know, as someone who is a TV junkie like myself, that's like a big sin that I didn't see more of Breaking Bad. But the fact was that I got in on it late. Um, I got through about two seasons, I think, and I was so, I was so far behind, and everything was just getting spoiled for me. So I just kind of gave up on that. I recognized it was like great TV, but I got in on Better Call Saul from the beginning. So this is my third season through it, and I gotta say, it just keeps getting better and better. I freaking loved this season. We're gonna do full spoilers, so let's talk through it. I just so I think Breaking Bad was the show that really started this big movement for the anti-hero, right? Like you're cheering for the bad guy. You were in Breaking Bad. You definitely were not cheering for a good person. By the end, I'm a big fan of the Americans, and I find myself realizing that I am like deeply invested in the well-being of two Russian spies that are trying to hurt America during the Cold War. So it's an interesting thing that Breaking Bad kind of started on TV. They certainly weren't the first, but they kind of started this new movement of it. And Better Call Saul is that in a way, but it kind of turns it on its head. Saul, or Jimmy, is the main character, and we finally see him become Saul this year, um, is a really good dude. He's not a bad guy. He's just kind of a screw up that is always going to get in his own way and trip over his own feet. Um, but he's such a good dude. And Chuck, who is his brother, who is this upstanding citizen, this the top of the line lawyer that you can be, just very well educated, very well spoken, and he is the villain of this. And it's not because he's trying to bring Jimmy down; it's because he's a douchebag. Like he's the worst. I think Chuck was our villain of the year last year on the TV awards coming in September for this year. Um, but my God, he's the worst. Um, but this show has so many great ancillary characters. Kim is wonderful. Mike, through the first two seasons, I thought was the best character on the show. Certainly, he's the maybe the best side character on TV right now. I forget his name. Banks is his last name, but certainly I think he's been nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Emmys for every single season that they've had it. He's just wonderful. Um, I call him Professor Lasky because I love Saved by the Bell. But Howard from HHM, they're all so good. But this year, I just felt I've always been so interested in Mike's story um, that it almost overshadowed what was going on with Jimmy, and that wasn't the case this year. It's why I like season three so much. Um, I certainly left with a big cliffhanger from Mike for last year. Again, full spoilers for this. Um, as he was going to assassinate uh, Scaramanga or whatever, um, the drug lord he got involved with that had threatened his family. He was stopped and left a note that said "don't." It was this big mystery, and it seems like if you're a Breaking Bad fan, you knew who it was. I didn't, but I finally get to meet Gus Fring, who I'd heard so much about, and all of my Breaking Bad friends are telling me that he was so much better Breaking Bad. I can't imagine that because he was so good on there. I love that actor, Giancarlo Esposito, I believe is his name. God, he's so good. But what's going on with Jimmy and Chuck was just so great. So Jimmy and Kim have now got their own private practice, and of course, Chuck has uh, con- tricked Jimmy into revealing that he had done some very dishonest things to trick to make Chuck look bad. But what that led to with them being in court and where Jimmy's having to fight to remain a lawyer, and he kind of turns it on Chuck and finally really brings to light his mental illness because uh, Chuck's always been convinced that this is a real disease, and Jimmy has always, to his face at least, supported it. But he finally proves that it's all in his head, and that's probably at least a top five scene on TV for this past TV season is the courtroom scene. I believe that's episode 4 or 5. My God, it was so good. And going forward, it just kept getting better. But what I liked is that it always showed how good of a lawyer both Kim and Jimmy could be, and how good of people they could be, but also what was always going to hold Jimmy back. And as much as you hate Chuck, he is right, and that's on the show, not on the podcast, because I'll never admit Chuck's right. Um, Bob Odenkirk is freaking wonderful, and he has the best name in show business. Uh, he is the real life Cade Yeager to me. Um, but going in, I wasn't sure he was going to get nominated, and now I see why. I wouldn't be surprised if everyone from the show didn't get nominated, let alone just the two that they normally get. Very glad it's just nominated for Best Show. But where it kind of went to, what happens with Chuck, his meltdown at the end after Jimmy has turned his disease on his head, after he tries to get better, and Jimmy comes to visit him, and he just has this breakdown. And watching him rip his house apart was just gut wrenching to watch, even though it's just a character that I just can't stand. Um, and he purposely knocks that lantern over, the house catches on fire. I'm just like, what is happening? Can this show go on without Chuck? I don't know. I feel it can, but I know Jimmy's gonna have to get involved. I guess the Mike and Jimmy stories are gonna overlap at some point. You guys can tell me down below in the comments if you want. I don't care. You can spoil the few parts of Breaking Bad that haven't been spoiled for me. But I think as Jimmy becomes Saul, he became Saul this year as a production company while he's going through this 12-month suspension of being a lawyer. And so from here on out, I think he becomes the lawyer for Gus Fring. Am I correct on that? But I'm interested to see that if that's where it goes. I really would like to see more of Mike and Jimmy overlapping. I always think their scenes are really funny. But it's just, I am really into this show now. Like, it just keeps getting better and better. Mike's story kind of picked up in the second half with him and what is kind of showing on with Gus, as far as he seems to be becoming the drug lord or crime boss that he is when Breaking Bad starts. And Jimmy again, I don't know where he's going to go as a lawyer I'm assuming next season will come back and he's got his lawyer rights back, but he's been doing elder law, and because he's a good person, burned his whole practice and his whole base that he had set up for elder law to the ground, because he just couldn't stand for one old lady to be upset. But in that same breath, during that same 2-episode run, he's slipping Jimmy all over again. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm really curious to see where they go from there and how this all ties together. So tell me what you think. If I'm gonna give this a point grade, I've got to give it a 9. I think we've gotten better every year. I give season 1 an 8, season 2 8.5, and season 3 a 9. I just think it is so good. Vince Gilligan is just a freaking wonderful creator for this. The writing he does is spot on. Bob Odenkirk is perfect, like I said. And I don't if Vince Gilligan's doing all the shots for this, or whoever does the cinematography, it's the best on TV outside of maybe like Game of Thrones and Westworld, which have probably quadrupled the budget. Um, but it's just it's so well done. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I would give this a 9. And I want to hear what you guys think. Did you like this season? I think I stand really different from a lot of people because again, I've watched more Better Call Saul than I have Breaking Bad. I know Chuck. As I'm interested to see what he thinks on it. Free for all, Chuck, because I know him and Trey are both massive fans and they watch this as well. But make sure to check out the podcast this week. You can find us at Free4Geeks. That's free the number 4geeks.com. Or you can look us up on iTunes. Just search Free for all one word. We're going to be talking about this at length on the podcast. You can hear all four of us discussing it. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment below. I want to hear what you guys think about Breaking Bad. Or excuse me, Breaking Bad. About Better Call Saul, and specifically this season, what you think is going to be going forward next year. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends about it. You can find links to our Facebook and Twitter at the bottom. And until next time, thank you for watching. We'll see you.